Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Gusto deck profile. So this is a really amazing deck that can actually summon out some really interesting synchro monsters like Gusto Spree, which is a monster that basically says to your opponent, hey, stop hitting yourself. Which is really, really funny to do, because basically you summon out a bunch of little monsters until finally you summon out Gusto Spree, and then your opponent just keeps attacking into them until finally you summon this card out, and then they start taking their own damage because this card makes them take damage for battles instead of you. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we got some awesome rewards, you guys, like getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed card sent mail, or even getting requested deck profile every single month that you're a patron along with test hand. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing one of my favorite characters actually in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh, and that is Win, the Priestess of Gusto. So she's actually Winda. Winda is just like, it's crazy that this is her original form. This is actually what Winda looked like before she became Shaddoll Winda. So what she does is when this card is destroyed by battle with an opponent's card effect or attacking monster and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Gusto tuner from your deck. A lot of your monsters just float into other monsters, go figure. They're wind, they're light as air, they float, go figure. But this card is really good because she helps you get into a tuner monster. We then play 3 copies of Pilica, Descendant of the Gusto, which is probably the best Gusto card in the entire deck because what she does is just so good. That when she's normal summoned or special summoned, you get to target one wind tuner monster in your graveyard and special summon that target in face of defense position. Its effects are negated, and if you activate this effect, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for wind monsters, which is not that big of a deal at all because mainly what you're trying to do is get a level 3 tuner in the graveyard and then finally summon out your copy of Spree using your copy of Pilica. We then play 2 copies of Camus, Hope of Gusto. When this card is flipped face up, you can special summon a Gusto tuner from your deck, which is pretty good just to be able to flip it face up and be able to get out your copy of a Gusto tuner directly from the deck. 1 copy of Calm, the Serenity of Gusto. When she is normal summoned or once per turn, you can target 2 Gustos in your graveyard and put them back in the deck, and then you draw a card, which is pretty good just to be able to get you additional draws. 3 copy of Galdo. Galdo is the one that you're going to mainly want to get to the graveyard as quickly as possible, so you can use Pilica to be able to get additional plays rolling, which is really nice to be able to get Pilica on the field with a copy of Galdo in the graveyard, so you can get your plays really going to go into a copy of Spree. We then play 3 copies of Eagle. Eagle is probably it's really one of the good tuners because it has the ability that when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 non-tuner level 4 or lower Gusto monster from your deck. So it can help you special summon out your copy of your Winda, and then Winda can special summon out your copy of Galdo. So you go Eagle, Winda, Galdo, and then you get another monster on the field if they destroy the Galdo. So you can go back to Winda if you want to, because the copy of Galdo has the ability that when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, then you can special summon a level 2 or lower Gusto monster from your deck, which can be your copy of your Winda, so you can just keep bouncing back and forth because they float into one another so easily. We then play 3 copies of Wind Charmer. Now this card actually changed the dynamic of the deck. What this card does is you can discard this card and 1 wind monster to add 1 wind monster from your deck to your hand that has 1500 or less defense. So this card really changed what the deck can do because you can discard a wind monster and this card to add your copy of Pilica from your deck to your hand to be able to then normal summon the Pilica to revive your copy of Galdo to put your copy of Spree on the field ASAP, which is amazing. We then play for the kaijus that you play in this deck. You play a single copy of Yugioh because it is a 3000 beat stick that you want to give to your opponent and be able to just start ramming your copy of Spree into it so they take 1300 every time you hit it. 1 copy of the Thunder King kaiju, which they would take again 13, but it helps you out boards as well. Dolgaran, again, 3k beat stick, and help you give it to your opponent. Gandarla is pretty good because it can help you special summon it to your side of the field as a wind monster, and a copy of Gamma Seal as well. Now the Gamma Seal comes in handy because it's just a 2200 beat stick that you can give to your opponent, and then if you need to, you can summon one of the big kaijus and then beat over it if you need to. And then we play 3 copies of Nibiru. Now the Nibiru is funny, okay? The Nibiru is really funny in this deck because what you do with the Nibiru is you basically give your opponent the Nibiru, you get Nibiru, they get the token, and then you summon out your copy of Pilica on your turn, revive Galdo, and then go into the copy of Spree, and then if they had a bunch of defense points, you just attack into the defense monster, and that's the token, and they take the damage equal to the difference between Spree and your monster. So it's a really good card just to outboard, and this deck is the board outing deck because it plays 5 Kaijus and 3 Nibiru's, so you have 8 ways to outboard, which is really, really good. So that's actually, we have more in the spells. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. If you want to drop one of those Nibiru's and play a copy of Kumungus, you can, by the way. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Call by the Grave because you just can play 1 Call by the Grave, unfortunately. Helps you stop hand traps because a lot of your monsters float and special summon from the main deck, so they can just hit and break your combo with a copy of Ash Blossom. 1 copy of Emergency Teleport, which lets you special summon a level 3 or lower Psychic monster from your deck. So you have plenty of Psychic monsters in this deck that you can just instantly summon out to your side of the field, like your copy of your Hope of Gusto, your Pilica, you can summon Wind. You have plenty of different, like any of the ones that are humans, you can special summon from the deck. We then play a single copy of Monster Reborn because it helps you kind of revitalize your plays if you do get hit by like a copy of Ash. This card really helps out to kind of help you climb again to be able to get where you need to go. 1 copy of One for One because it helps you get monsters out of your hand, and you can search a copy of Eagle to start going into your plays even faster. 3 copies of Creature Swap. Now this card is really, really, really good in this deck because you can give your opponent a copy of one of your Gusto monsters and then swing into it, and then it goes to your graveyard, which then you'll get to revive a Gusto, and then you get to swing with that Gusto that you just special summon from your deck, which is really good. We then play for the last 3 spells, we play 3 copies of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. Slumber destroys fields. This card just destroys all monsters on the field and sends them to the graveyard. Ensure as many monsters on the field as possible. Then you special summon in attack position 2 Kaiju monsters with different names from your deck. 1 each from either from your, like you get a Kaiju and your opponent gets a Kaiju, which is really good just to be able to like board wipe and then give them a big one. You get a small one, then summon Spree, which is really cool. And plus, some of your cards just float if they're not destroyed by battle. If they're just destroyed, they just float into another copy. So it'll resolve after this resolves, which is still pretty cool to just summon out a Kaiju and then a couple of your copies of your other monsters. So that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get into the traps, which we only play a couple of traps in this deck. We play a single copy of Whirlwind of Gusto. Whirlwind is good as a one-of because if you control no monsters, you can target 2 Gusto monsters in your graveyard, shuffle both of them into the deck. Then you can special summon a Gusto monster with 1,000 or less defense from your deck. It's kind of like one of those, hey, I've kind of gotten hit by Ash, and I had this set, and can recover and help me get my plays going again. And then we play 3 copies of Back to the Front, which is a little bit better than the copy of Whirlwind because you don't have to have Gustos already in the graveyard to resolve this. You just flip it, target a monster in your grave, special summon it. It's very simplistic, and it really helps out. It doesn't have any restrictions. It just gives you a monster back on your side of the field, which is why I play this at 3 and Whirlwind at 1. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. The extra deck is very, very, very simplistic in what it's trying to do. So we're going to be playing 2 copies of Spree. Spree is really good. Now, I will mention you guys about the extra deck. There are a couple of cards in the main deck that lock you into Wind, so be very careful of that as you play the extra deck, but you're mainly only going to be summoning the Gusto monster. So we're going to be playing 2 copies of Daigusto Spree. What she does is when this card is synchro summoned, you get to target 1 Gusto card in your graveyard and add that target to your hand, and you can only use the effect of that effect once per turn. Or no, she's as many times as you synchro summon her, but you're only going to ever use that once. And your opponent can take any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving a face-up Gusto monster you control. So basically, if you have her and any other Gusto monster on your side of the field and you give your opponent a Kaiju, you can just swing into that monster. Like, for instance, I'm going to give you guys a quick example. So let's say you have a Spree on your side of the field, okay? And your opponent has a Kaiju. Let's say they have this. They have Yugioh right here, and you have a copy of Eagle right here. You attack them with the Eagle. They Spree effect. They take the damage. They take 33. That goes to grave. You summon out a copy of Winda. Winda comes out on the field. They take 23. You swing again. They take 23. They've lost a total of 54. And then you special summon out your copy of Galdo from the deck, and they take an additional. However much this card is going to deal them, which is like 28. So with a couple of attacks, as long as you summon Spree and a Kaiju on their field, they're going to lose. And you have a Kaiju on their field, you have a Spree on your field, and you have any copy of any of your Gusto monsters. You can just get those crazy plays. We then play 2 copies of Daigusto Falcos. Falcos is pretty good because it lets you, when this card Synchro Summon, all Gusto monsters gain 800 attack or 600 attack. Helps you climb. That's really all you're using this for, is to climb into your copy of Spree, because Spree's the main one you're summoning. 2 copies of Galdos. Galdos is pretty good because once per turn you can target 2 of your Gustos in your graveyard to the deck, and then you can select a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So this one's one that I actually summon quite frequently to pop stuff. 1 copy of Eagleus, Daigusto Eagleus. This card's pretty good too because once per turn during your end phase, you can move from play 1 win monster from your graveyard to select 1 face down card your opponent controls and destroy it. So it's really good at like popping something face down. 1 copy of Trishula. Now this is one of the water monsters in the deck that you kind of have to beware when you're summoning. It's really easy to summon this deck because you can do like of 3 3s, 2, a 4, and a 2. It depends on what you particularly have on your field. Depends on how well you can go into Trishula. 1 copy of Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing, again, really easy to summon in this deck because you Synchro Summon and you just climb. So you have like a Spree and a level 2. You can go into this card really easily. 1 copy of Wind Pegasus. The Wind Pegasus is really good because you can summon this card because it's wind, and then you can climb with a level 1 tuner into your copy of Crystal Wing, and then this card gets a graveyard effect as well, which has the ability that if whether this card's on the field or in the graveyard, you can banish this card to target a card your opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck, which is really good to just banish it and put something back in the extra deck or back in the deck. 1 copy of High Speed Roid Chambara. Chambara can get attacked twice, which is pretty good. And then Boral Sword, one of the darks. Kind of have to be careful, but it's really good. It pays off when you summon it. 1 copy of Appaloosa, because it is wind, and you can be able to summon this card really easily. 1 copy of IP Masquerena, dark, be careful. And it helps you go into your copy of Appaloosa, and then a single copy of High Speed Roid Rubber Band. Rubber Band gives you an additional normal summon, which can help you get into another copy of a monster on your side of the field. So for example, if you summon out a copy of this, normal summon additional time, get your second monster on your side of the field if you can somehow, or you already have an existing monster on the field. You can then use those 2 monsters to go an IP, pass turn, and then link summon this and your copy of IP into your copy of Appaloosa. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play around with. It's literally the deck of, hey man, stop hitting yourself, because you summon out Spree and then you do that combo that I showed you by having any other Gusto on your side of the field, and then they just keep special summoning themselves off of one another to be able to go after your opponent for big damage against the copy of Spree and any of your other cards. So it's really fun. I highly recommend you guys, if you want to pick up a very budget deck, I would probably pick this deck up because it is extremely budget and hopefully get support soon. So help it like turbo out some more cards onto your side of the field to go use Spree as the advantage card. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because you got some awesome rewards, you guys, like getting your name description for every single video, getting signed cards sent in the mail, or even getting requested deck profile every single month that you're a patron along with test hands. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, guys.